Hi, good evening. Welcome to the March 26th meeting of the Millis School Committee. My name is Mark Conroy. I am the chair. We'll start with a roll call. Attendance, to my left, Robin.
Here.
Mr. Mulaney is here. Shana.
Here.
And Sean. Here. Great. Denise is out tonight. Next, I'll announce that this meeting is being recorded and can be viewed on Mondays at 7 o'clock on Comcast Channel 8 or Verizon Channel 37. All meeting videos are also posted to the Millis Public Schools website under School Committee. All videos are also available on YouTube. All school committee minutes and agendas can be found on the School Committee page of the Millis Public School website. People wishing to speak during open session must sign in before the meeting starts. Comments are not to exceed 3 minutes in time. Individuals may not name students, staff, or parents. All topics for discussion must be limited to those items listed on this evening's agenda, and all comments must be directed to the chair. We don't have anybody signed in for open session tonight. No student reps, so we'll go to teacher representative.
Good evening.
How are you?
All right.
Not doing double duty tonight. The parking lot's empty. Nobody here.
I have a rehearsal at 8.
Oh, well, there you see. You spoke too
It's a quiet
soon.
night, just one
Tell
rehearsal.
them to come in through the gym doors.
They're well trained. They come in, or they text Wilson and she lets them in, so they take them back. All right, the Clyde Brown held their Boosterthon Fun Run on Friday, March 15th. The fundraising event raised over $60,000 to support CFB programming, which is amazing. Spring parent-teacher conferences were held last week on Thursday and Friday, and MCAS is starting next week for grades 4 and 5. We'll have ELA next week. Oh, and so will grade 3. That's exciting. The CFB school counselors are facilitating a parent caregiver program on April 2nd and April 9th from 6:30 to 8. It's a great opportunity for caregivers to learn about how to support their students. On Monday of this week, the third graders were visited by Vicki Graff from Boston 25 News, and so they had a great weather presentation. And the grade 3 Spanish immersion students were doing math and Spanish work together with grade 7 students. So the grade 7 Spanish students did a great job of speaking in Spanish with the grade 3 students, and they all had a wonderful time with that experience. Up in the middle school, grade 6 has been reading fiction and nonfiction text and poetry and discussing the power of reading. And they're working on synthesizing information from multiple sources. Grade 7 math is learning practical math, such as calculating tax, tip, and discounts, which is super important. Grade 7 Spanish has been learning about food, and grade 7 ELA is doing research for their annual Outsiders project around life in the 1960s. In a grade 8, they are working on Lois Lowry's The Giver, and they're brainstorming their own perfect utopian communities, which we kind of all know that the utopian communities are never quite the utopia they're supposed to be. And then in grade 8 civics, they're working on the government's executive branch, and soon they're heading into the judicial branch. We have a virtual art show for 8 of our Millis middle school, high school students. So it's the Massachusetts Art Educator Association's annual Youth Art Month exhibit. And the links can be found in all the various newsletters when they come out on Friday. So at the high school, we had the DECA team competing in Boston on March 7th through 9th. And Terrence Streck has earned a top 10 medal and will be competing in the International Career Development Conference in Anaheim, California, April 27th through 30th. So that's
Cool.
quite an honor, especially for a first-year DECA team that we have. So Yvonne Fitzgerald has been the advisor, and this actually came about from J.C. Jakubowski's senior project. She wanted to start a DECA team, and it has literally exploded, so it's amazing. We started course selection at the high school for the 2024-2025 school year. So the students got their recommendations and met with guidance counselors yesterday, and now they're going through the process of doing that. Over the weekend, Mrs. Ames, Mr. Fallon, and Ms. Ziemba took 3 teams of our global scholars to the Academic World Quest Challenge, which was hosted at Emmanuel College this year. So basically, it's a lot of current topics, things from NATO to sports diplomacy to demographic dividends in Africa. So it's really kind of an eclectic. It's not a quiz show, but you get a series of questions you answer, and then they get scored, and there's a round one and a round two. So it's a pretty intensive day. Also last week, Mike Carter, with a grant from the Millis Public Library, hosted a mashup video, which blended Spielberg's Survivors of the Holocaust with Etched in Glass, which was about Bob Ross, who was a Holocaust survivor who was a street worker, a street social worker in Boston, basically from the time he finished school. So it was a whole school, high school assembly, and the kids were really great. We had a Q&A with some of the producers and the directors afterwards, and Mike Carter surveyed the students to find out, and overwhelmingly, with one being, it was okay, to 5 being excellent, the majority of the students all rated it as 5, and have asked for more types of these presentations on other historical events moving forward. A big one was 9/11, interestingly. They want to see what we can kind of pull together from that. So just another kind of fun one. One of the themes the kids really took away was this idea of perseverance. That, one of his messages was Steve Ross. I'm sorry, Bob Ross is a painter.
Yeah.
We were talking art earlier. So.
It's okay. Yeah, my brain's in 9 different places. But Steve Ross,
Yeah.
he really kind of stressed this idea is if you put your mind to it, you can do it. The power is within you. And so I thought that was really nice for our students to actually hear that message and convey it back post-assembly. So that was pretty powerful last week. I'll be honest, they did a bunch of the scenes from Auschwitz, and I had been there in 2019, and it was really, it was very interesting, because when you're there now, it's very sterile, but to have been there and then see the scenes in the film that were not sterile any longer, it was really kind of moving. The students were really excellently well behaved. It was amazing. So we had Wizard of Oz over the weekend, which was sort of a partnership between us and the Millis Community Theater. So you had about 35 Millis students, grades 1 to 12, performing with community members, and the pit was under the direction of Mark Femino. So that came off really well. And the Millis Futures Instagram has gone live if you want to keep up with where our kids are headed next fall. So they're all the seniors are kind of bubbling over with that information. And that's what I have for you this evening. Any questions for me, or you guys?
Well, and the musical piece was also, I understand, the choreographer for Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, I got to do the choreography, the lighting,
And-
the costuming, and somehow I became the scheduler as well. I don't know how that happened.
When you're good at something, people go to you.
Yeah, you know me. I like my emails to be a certain way.
And the dancing was great, and the lighting was exceptional.
Well, thank you.
What you were able to do with rainbows and
Well, and Mr. Bush does all the sound.
snowball. And Mr. Bush was on the sound.
Yeah, we
And
get
it
to
was
hang out. It's
great.
like our 4 nights a year that we get to hang out in the booth together
it was really
and
well done.
have a good time. So, all right, thank you.
Thank you. All right, we're gonna skip our action items for now and move to time and learning on the presentation of the Student Opportunity Act.
So
Ms.
Mrs.
Knowlton,
Knowlton,
if you would like
you're
to
on.
join.
We're going out of order.
As we do.
Right.
Every week.
It's an adventure.
Yeah. Keep you on your toes.
Keep them guessing.
Oh,
Mm-hmm.
So, good evening, everybody. I am here to present to you the Student Opportunity Act plan for Millis Public Schools for your approval before we submit it to the Department of Education. Just for a little background, the Student Opportunity Act is a Massachusetts state law that was passed in 2019 to remedy inequities and opportunities in schools. It's got a focus on improving education for all students, but particularly students who've been historically marginalized, such as students with disabilities, English language learners, students of color, and students who are economically disadvantaged. It's tied to an increase in Chapter 70 funding, and due to that increase, the Department of Education requires us to submit a 3-year plan to consult stakeholders, and to identify evidence-based practices to improve student education. For Millis, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's about $30,000 we received each
Yeah,
year for the past 2 years.
$30. This is a lot of work.
I was gonna say, like, is there a category where, like, if you don't actually receive more money overall, you don't have to do all this work?
think
I have
so.
not
Okay.
come up with that
Yeah.
yet.
Okay,
So-
just checking.
And Mrs. Knowlton.
But just to clarify, this is not a replacement of the district improvement plan or the strategic plan. This just highlights a subset of our district initiatives that are already in place for this plan. So it's a 3-year cycle. We first submitted a plan in January of 2021, and we focused on chronic absenteeism at that time. Just because that 3-year cycle has ended doesn't mean we stop focusing on that. We'll continue our work to address student absenteeism, but we now need to submit a new focus area for 2024 to 27. We'll submit progress updates each year, and then again in 27, submit a new focus area. So it's a 3-year cycle. The process to develop the plan, they require us to analyze a lot of data. So we looked at our MCAS data, we looked at our accountability data, we looked at screening, we looked at absent rates over the last several years, and what we identified were disparities in our English language arts performance, a difference between the performance of all students and the performance in the high needs subgroup. And so we conducted a community survey and a teacher survey, which resulted in suggestions and a need for continued focus on developing early literacy skills. We had to set a progress target, and Department of Ed helps us with that. They identify a low-performing subgroup every year, and they set a 3-year improvement target. So just for, your information, our 2024 baseline was 474.6. That was the standard score for the subgroup, and our target is 478.5. A score of 500 means a student meets expectations, and that subgroup was 105 students in grades 3 through 8. So that's how they come up with their target. And we elected to use the Department of Ed target rather than set our own. And then we needed to choose a focus area and evidence-based practices from a list of suggested ones from the Department of Ed. And it aligned really nicely with what we're already doing in Millis, what we've been doing for the past couple of years at Clyde Brown, which was implementing high-quality instructional materials for literacy and culturally and linguistically sustaining practices. The evidence-based practices that we chose for this plan included supporting the curriculum implementation, professional development, monitoring our implementation of the literacy program at Clyde Brown, a comprehensive approach to early literacy, which is what we are doing with core curriculum and foundational materials, and then screening for early literacy for identifying students at risk of dyslexia or reading disabilities at an early age. So that's the focus area we chose and the 3 evidence-based practices that will make up the plan. And then just to highlight, more specifically, we will continue to support implementation of the literacy program at Clyde Brown, which is in Wisdom for grades K to 5. That's a knowledge-based comprehension program. Foundations, which is a phonics-based program K to 3, and Haggerty, which is phonemic awareness in grades K to 2. We've been providing professional development and coaching as part of an HQIM grant from the Department of Ed for the past 2 years, and we will continue that next year in year 3 of implementation and then on through 2027. Typically, a well-supported implementation of a curriculum program is 3 to 5 years. So this is something we're already engaged in, and we're going to use this plan to further that. We'll also continue to use our new early literacy screening tool, which we were able to purchase with a grant for SY24 and SY25. So it's an approved program from the Department of Ed called Dibbles, and it has a digital component to it that allows teachers to prepare reports and monitor progress really nicely. So we will continue to implement that. And with that tool, we'll identify students at risk for reading disabilities or possible risk of dyslexia early and provide targeted interventions as soon as possible. So that Student Opportunity Act plan just meshes really nicely with our district improvement plan, with Clyde Brown's school improvement plan, with what we're already doing as a result of Department of Ed grants at Clyde Brown. So we'll just kind of mesh the two together and continue all the good work that they're doing at Clyde Brown, the teachers there. In terms of fiscal support for the Student Opportunity Plan, it's embedded in the district's budget. It includes that additional Chapter 70 funding. We've committed staff salaries, we've committed curriculum materials and supplies and professional development to represent the district's investment in this Student Opportunity Act plan. And we expect we're going to see good results in literacy.
Thank you.
Questions?
Yeah, I'll start one question. So,
Sure.
what, this is just process and like kind of how the state is even. So, if our first focus area was on the absenteeism, like, do you have to continue to report on that, like going forward, or is it just okay?
Not officially.
You did it for a
But
few
they
years.
expect us to continue the work that we started. I think this cycle,
Yeah.
this cycle encourages us to choose a target area, focus area, that we really want to make sure that we dedicate resources to and we spend time on improving. And then once we start to do that, we continue that, but then we pick up something new. So they provide us with a list of focus areas to choose from.
Okay. All right. Anybody else have any other questions? All right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks.
All right. Next, we will go to the Education Vision Plan for the MSBA.
This is kind of a summary of our education vision plan for the middle high school project. The educational plan is something that we as a leadership team developed. It was informed by staff, parents, community members, and students. We've had 3 visioning workshops, which included input from students, staff, and parents that were well attended. The education plan reflects our values as a district and our educational priorities. And we use this as kind of a guide as we go through this MSBA process of a new / renovated facility. So it ensures that the project is responsive to what we value in our district. The plan outlines our current conditions in this facility, and it talks about aspirational plans we would like to have in a new facility, and the type of teaching and learning that would happen in a new facility. And so it's basically, as we're going through this MSBA process, it is basically the foundation of why we're going to make decisions and things we choose to prioritize in the process. And so the educational plan is based on our core values and beliefs. And the first value of our district is really the small school, big family environment. and culture of the Millis Public Schools. And we want to certainly make sure that a new facility keeps that theme at the forefront. The plan is also based on our theory of action that if we honor each student as an individual learner and we engage these learners and support and challenge all of our learners, we provide varied inclusive instructional approaches, and we provide students with voice and choice in their learning, also known as student agency. And if we allow them to demonstrate their understanding in a variety of ways, if all those things hold true, we believe our students will become independent, lifelong learners and leaders who will positively contribute to a diverse and ever-changing society. So that's the foundation of the plan. It outlines our current reality, which is an HVAC system that is inadequate, as you all know, particularly as we get into the warmer weather. An electrical service that has outlived its useful life. Roof and window leaks, and we've had a lot of rain lately, so there's a lot of mop-up going on in this building. Our current reality is our classrooms are undersized, and that limits the amount of activities we can do within the classroom, and therefore limits instructional methods. So all those aspirational goals of having a wide variety of activities and ways to demonstrate knowledge, it's a challenge in these classrooms. The current reality includes we have windowless closets that are now teaching spaces and offices. We have some spaces that up until recently still had storage on them before we took them off to give people a break, so that at least it didn't say storage on their office. We have no dedicated STEAM spaces for design thinking and engineering, things like that. We don't have small and large group meeting spaces, again, going back to the closets used as offices and workspaces. We have 4 lunch blocks, and the 6th grade lunch begins at 10:30 in the morning. We don't have our gym, weight room, and locker rooms inadequate in size and in features. And as a building with 2 schools in the building, the way the building is set up, there are opportunities for unsupervised interaction between middle and high school students. We try and limit that as much as possible. But it can happen, and I wouldn't say it's a huge problem, but there's a potential there of problems that if we can avoid it in the future, we'd like to avoid it. So the takeaway, our current facility is unable to support our vision of promoting collaborative learning, encouraging student agency, providing flexible classroom and gathering spaces, facilitating cross-disciplinary interaction, expanding hands-on learning, increasing powerful STEAM experiences, and fostering 2 distinct schools school communities within one building. So those are the challenges we face, and just because the acronym STEAM is science, technology, engineering, art, and math, kind of the creative process that promotes critical thinking and creative thinking. Some of our aspirations in a new facility would be 2 distinct schools with their own unique culture, flexible classroom spaces that would allow for individual small group work and breakout space, seamless technology that's up to date, STEAM spaces that could support project-based learning, design thinking, engineering, an appropriately sized gym with space for adaptive PE and fitness, learning neighborhoods that could support cross-disciplinary learning and project-based learning, appropriately sized and outfitted special education and English learner spaces, updated science labs, music, art, library, media, STEAM spaces that could be easily accessible to both schools. Learning in a comfortable environment with adequate lighting and an HVAC system that keeps kids warm in the winter and cool in the summer or in the spring. State-of-the-art safety features like we have over at Clyde Brown. And we're really thinking that a new renovated facility could also serve as a community center after school hours. So those are some of our aspirations. And we believe a facility like that would support our students. And one of the, I read an article recently on 4 good work skills to include in your resume in 2024 from Forbes magazine. And they talked about communication, teamwork, leadership, problem solving, and self-motivation. You know, and we believe that these are things we want to teach our kids. And we teach them now. We think we could teach them in a more deep way in a facility that lent itself to those kinds of interactions and those kinds of teaching strategies. So to sum up, an updated Millis middle high school facility would provide students with a facility and the resources necessary to succeed as we enter the second quarter of the 21st century, a building that addresses the inadequacies of our current facility while supporting our continued commitment to providing a warm, welcoming, and safe environment that would enable our students to become the independent, lifelong learners and leaders that we aspire them to be. So that's a summary of the plan. The plan is in the packet, and you know, hopefully you had a chance to look through it. And that's this is an iteration of a plan as we go through the design process. You know, there may be some updates to it, but this is the plan that we're entering into this feasibility phase with your approval.
Anybody have any questions on the plan? All right. I know this was a ton of work for you and the other administrators and everybody else involved in getting multiple reviews and among a bunch of people. So
And
thank
there's
you guys for doing that.
some great input from the community, so that was
Yeah.
really nice.
And just for people who may watch this on video, you know, 1 or 2 people, the full plan is will be online in our minutes or on our website with the materials, and I think possibly on the school project webpage as well. So it's the full book of it is available for anybody who wants to read it. All right, I'll take a motion to approve the ed plan as presented.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
I make a motion to approve the educational vision plan for MSBA.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great, thank you very much.
You can also do Maureen's SOA
Yeah.
plan.
Thanks for coming out.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
Move to approve the plan
Uh,
presented.
All right, it's been moved? Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
That's the student opportunity plan. All right, and then, all right, so why don't we just go back up through? So action items, we can do the minutes.
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Briggs,
I make a motion to approve the March 12th meeting minutes.
Second?
moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Next is consideration to remain a school choice district for 2025 school year. This is something we do every year. We have to take a formal vote. I know when we were at the finance committee last time, and we'll probably go through it again, and in a budget presentation, Millis has significantly more kids coming into district than leaving the district for choice. So from a financial perspective, it is a win for Millis to the tune of a couple $100,000. So there's really no reason not to continue doing this. There's no issues with space, and if there are in a current grade, if the Millis residents, there's not too many. If there are doesn't allow for choice kids to come in because of staffing ratios, then we don't let them in, and we don't hire new staff just for that purpose.
And the grades are closed.
Right, grades get closed if they need to be. All right,
Mr. Chair,
Ms. Briggs.
I make a motion to remain a school choice district for fiscal '25.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries. Next is to approve the amendments to the Accept Education Collaborative Agreement. There wasn't anything.
So, yeah, so basically, the reason this is coming to us is Accept Collaborative has, the Board of Directors has voted to accept Westboro into the collaborative. And when a new school is introduced to the collaborative, it comes into the collaborative, the agreement has to include that new school. So we have to do the agreement,
Again.
get approvals from all the school committees of the existing members of the district, members of the collaborative. So back in January of 2023, so a year ago, Millis School Committee approved Westboro coming into the collaborative. So once that happened, then we had to go and amend the collaborative agreement. So, and in the packets, there's kind of the redlined version of with the changes, and there's also been just some wordsmithing, and probably the biggest change is just in the wording relating to member districts ensuring that they're going to have someone at the Board of Directors meetings, because when you have more districts involved, your quorum gets larger. So we reworded that, but essentially it's welcoming Westboro into the collaborative and adjusting that quorum language.
Can you give a quick overview of what the collaborative is?
Sure. So the Accept Collaborative, we belong to two collaboratives, Accept and Tech. And the collaboratives kind of provide us with some kind of group purchasing power and group resource power. So collaboratives will have education programs that by ourselves we couldn't do economically. So if we have two kids with a certain need that need a special program, we can't do that in-house. But if the member districts all have two kids, then a collaborative can run a program, and kind of the economy of scale can help us out in that. So a lot of special ed benefits to being in a collaborative. Collaboratives also, both Tech and Accept, do a lot with professional development for our staff, our administrators. They have job alikes. So it's a really good way for us to network with neighboring districts to help all the member districts meet the needs of students and staff.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, I make a motion to approve the amendments to the Accept Education Collaborative Agreement.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank
The last one is consideration to waive gym rental fee for the Millis Lions Club for October 26, 2024. They are ahead of the game. It's like, double check that. So they're asking for a fee waiver, a rental fee waiver to hold a holiday market the last Saturday of October I don't know that they've ever done this before.
No, I don't think they have, not
That's
since I've
kind
been
of
here.
exciting.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah, so they're gonna do it in the gym and. they have some
What
ideas
is the
on
rental fee? That we're waiving? Like, how much is it?
The room fee,
Yeah.
uh,
Pub quiz, Terry. What is
don't
it?
have that at the top of my head.
Thank you.
Only because I was going to take those fees to you at some point.
Thank you.
Give me a second.
Yes. We talked about that. Like in my notes, I have that adult groups are $50 an hour, and youth groups are $26 an hour. But we talked about. I don't know if that's the most up to date that we have.
I have a lot of stuff in my spreadsheets.
I bet you do. Do they know how long? Like, how
yeah,
many
it
hours?
do- I
they
was
would
just
have
thinking,
it?
it doesn't say.
Yeah.
Current fees are, for an adult group, would be $50 per hour. For a youth group, it would be $26 per hour.
Okay. It doesn't have their hours. So
Yeah, I'm not sure if they've landed on a number yet, but I imagine it would be, you know,
Probably 5 or
Pretty
6,
long.
7.
Yeah,
Yeah,
probably
gonna
pretty
be
long.
most of the day.
yeah.
yeah. And
When
they would pay the custodial
Yeah,
fees.
they have to.
Okay. Yeah. They said that
Right.
they're aware of that. October.
It'd probably be more than the fee.
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, and the Lions have been great. They
Yeah.
do the Lions speech contest every year with our kids. We have the Leo's Club here is very active, so I am very much would support waiving the fees in this case.
Yeah. I was just curious what the
Yeah.
what the
No, that's-
number
yeah.
was in our fiscal.
So it's probably
Debacle
6 or
here.
7,
It's
8
the
hours.
Millis, the
So
Millis, the high school gym they want.
Yes.
Okay.
probably $500, $600, $700.
6 hours would be $300.
Oh, 300. Yeah, so 8 hours would be.
8 hours,
Yeah.
yeah. A lot.
Mhm.
Um,
What do you think?
It's a charitable organization.
Yeah.
The money they raise go towards things for kids.
Yeah,
It's about
And other
$400.
things.
You said.
probably.
I mean, if it was an 8-hour day,
Yep,
yeah,
yep.
$400.
Yeah.
And they know they don't need to pay the custodial fee.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do you guys think?
Anybody have any issues? Yeah. I mean, yeah. We kind of. So, all right.
Um,
So,
Mr. Chair?
go
Go
ahead.
ahead. Go ahead. I'd like to make a motion to waive the gym rental fee for the Millis Lions Club on October 26, 2024.
Moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. Great. All right. Next, MSBA update. So obviously we just approved the education plan. Tomorrow night there is a community forum on Zoom where the design plans will be presented. And I believe some cost estimates will be added to presented as well.
Is that a community forum or the school building committee meeting?
Oh, maybe it's the school building committee.
I think it's-
Okay, it's
the
just the
forum
school.
I thought was in April.
All right, sorry. So it's just the school building committee, but it is on Zoom and it's
Yes.
open to the public.
Yes.
So they will be walking through the design plans that Denise walked us through, and they'll have price tags on them.
Hmm.
So it'll be a good time.
That's tomorrow.
That's tomorrow, 7:30.
Okay. How do we get the Zoom link?
Is it on the
Should
site?
would be on the site, and I can get it to you as well. Because it should be on.
Can we post it on our website when we post our things from today on it, Bob,
Sure.
so people can
Yeah.
access it? and not have to search too hard. Thank you.
Yeah. All right, so that's the MSBA update. Fiscal 25 budget. Terry, any formal updates?
That would be next year's budget.
Right,
Yeah.
that's what's listed in here.
And
Yeah,
It hasn't really changed.
okay, that's fine.
Fine.
All right, then we'll go to the superintendent's report. I'm guessing it's fiscal 24.
Yeah, the FY '24 budget.
Yep.
You know, the projections, that we're in fairly good shape. And Mr. Wigan, feel free to correct me if I'm wrong.
No, I would agree, we're in, I mean, I've worked the numbers, I've worked the numbers. Bob has worked them from one angle. You saw his percentages, which I concur with. I've kind of worked the dollars. And I would say the worst-case scenario would still be easily covered by the warrant articles for free cash and stabilization with some to spare. And I would say, you know, the difficulty is always, of course, projecting salaries. That will get, as we get more, you know, closer to the end of the year, we'll be able to identify that better. So, I mean, right now, I would say we're somewhere in the vicinity of maybe $800,000 over budget.
With 900,
With 958, I think, is
Yeah.
the number.
okay.
So, I mean, we've clearly got room to spare, and we're going to have, as we get closer, we're going to find things that we can unencumber. I talked to one of the administrators today, and they've got a $6,000 of a purchase order that they're going to be unencumbering. So, I mean, this is going to start to happen.
Yeah.
We're going to find the holes where we have had some vacancy, some periods of vacancy in some of our staff positions will start to become more apparent as we get closer to the end of the year, because that's when they become easier to identify and see. So I'm pretty comfortable with the fact that that's probably going to be a good number. I could always be surprised, and something could always happen. So we will obviously hope and pray that is not the case. But I think we're in good shape. Now, you know, one of the things is how that plays out. The way we would like it to play out is that we got all the money that was approved in the warrant articles, and then we would have a positive fund balance that we could then apply to tuitions for next year. That would be ideal. That is not, I think, how it's being interpreted right now, and I mean, I think that will depend a lot on what happens as we move forward.
Yeah.
I think we just, part of how that happens is quite honestly what happens in May.
Yep.
I'll be honest. And I think that's a fair statement. I think it's fair for the town to look at it that way as well.
Yep.
So, but no, I think we're in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if the override passes,
Right.
and that covers everything that we have planned, then
Right.
there's more of an argument to
To
put
just
savings
take it
back.
as a zero, to
Right.
take it as a zero and
Yeah.
save some money. Yeah, no, I would agree with that.
if it
I think
fails,
if it doesn't, the ability to prepay some items for next year,
may help.
you know, becomes a little more important. So I think, you know, we're gonna have to see what happens in May.
Yeah, because even if we prepay something, that doesn't make it ongoing go away.
Oh, no, absolutely.
So for instance,
And-
we prepaid something, so a thought process could be, if you identify that we knew we would be able to prepay something, therefore your need, the dollar need for next year goes down, therefore you could reduce the override. But the problem is come fiscal '26, what you prepaid there's no guarantee that that money exists. So you
Right.
can't, you
And-
can
and
do it, but that's,
Yeah. And I think that's one
hedging.
of several things, I mean, just so that this committee and the public understand, is there's a lot of things that go into managing the budget. And for example, when I first started here, there were 2 or 3 years where we were able to prepay a fair amount of tuitions. We had more school choice. So we had more salaries that were paid off budget. We had there were lots of things we had. They all went away.
that they did.
And that's why we're talking about an override, because and that's why I talk about it, and we have talked about it as a fiscal cliff. Because you can only do that for so long, and then, you know, the banker comes and asks you for the bill. And that is what has happened. So, any other questions about that? Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Wiggins.
Thank you.
Do you have any correspondence?
The only correspondence I would say is the tech collaborative, the other collaborative to which we belong, has provided the school committee with their annual report. And again, we're very fortunate to be part of the tech collaborative, I think. And it is something that saves the district money and also provides some opportunities for our students and staff that are very positive. So we're very fortunate. We're in 2 very good collaboratives.
Anybody have any announcements or any old or new business? All right, I'll take a motion to go to executive session.
Mr. Chair,
Briggs.
make a motion to move to executive session for contract negotiations for union and non-union personnel, not to come back into open session.
It's been moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. It's a roll call vote. Robin?
Aye.
I'm an aye. Shayna?
Aye.
And Sean? Aye. All right. Thank you all very much. Our next meeting on camera is April 9th.